name is Hydo, and welcome to the Pantheon, where today we're in Innistrad, and, well, there's an enormous turtle about to crush me under its enormous hooves? Are they called hooves? I don't know what they have. Anyway, we've got Gorex, the Tombshell. 8 mana for a 4/4 legendary creature. Zombie turtle. Zombie turtle, look at that. Absolutely phenomenal. Love the artwork. You know, he's just chilling with, a couple of other zombies just plodding along with a lovely crypt on the back of his shell. Who doesn't have a scenario that's ended up like that? And anyway, as an additional cost to cast a spell, you may exile any number of creature cards from your graveyard. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. So it's Mega Delve. Really, really nice. Then it's got Death Touch, so why does a turtle have Death Touch? I can't explain it. But when it attacks or dies, choose a card at random exiled with Gorex and put that card into its owner's hand. So all of the cards we're going to be exiling, we want to get some value out of them because we're going to be returning them back to our hands. So there's a couple of cool ways we can do this, and I've found a couple of, interesting ways we can play with the cost reduction, which is always good fun. If you like these videos, please do subscribe. I'm going to make one of these for every legendary creature ever and all the ones from Midnight Hunt. So join me on my slow trudge into insanity. Without further ado, let's have a look at my top 5 for Gorex. Day number 5. Well, this channel's called Cycling MTG, and one of the best ways to get cards into your graveyard is cycling. Oh my god, who would have thought I'd bring this up? 6 mana for a 4/3 zombie, and that might come up later. Cycling for a double black. When you cycle Gem Palm Polluter, you may have target player lose 1 life for each zombie in play. So our commander is itself a zombie, and when you cycle a card, you discard it, putting it to its graveyard, and then you draw a card. So if we exile all these and get them back when our commander attacks, we're going to be able to cycle, dig deeper into the deck. It's just a great way of generating card advantage and digging deeper into the deck. And this card could kill our opponent. Here's a couple of other great cycling cards. Street Wraith, 5 mana for a 3/4 with Swamp Walk, cycling, pay 2 life. So you don't even have to pay mana for this bad boy. Utterly ridiculous. So you just cycle it away. Bing bang bosh, cast your commander, get it back, cycle it away. Oh, the card advantage. Then there's Horror of Broken Lands. 5 mana for a 4/4 horror. Whenever you cycle or discard another card, it gets +2/+1 until end of turn. Cycling for a single black, just 1, which is really, really nice, cheap. We want to be getting it turn 1, which get rid of it. Turn 2, potentially we could cast our commander if we cycled something or whatever. This is great, and it's a big threat by itself if your deck has a lot of cycling cards. Then we've got the Lurching Rot Beast, 4 mana for a 4/2 with cycling for a single black. It's a zombie. It might come up that you cycle that Gem Palm Polluter and you deal 5 damage to sort of kill someone. And this could be the make or break play because it's a zombie beast. I love cycling in these sort of decks because you end up putting rubbish cards, because this is a garbage card. I wouldn't play this in Limited, but in this deck it works so well. Then here's a couple of actual decent cycling cards. Scion of Darkness, 8 mana for a 6/8 with Trample. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may put target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Cycling for 3, so a bit expensive, but it's something great to get back late game, with our commander, and then cast it, and we've got a big threat on the board. Then we've got Hollow One, 5 mana for a golem. It's a 4/4, and it costs 2 less to cast for each card you've cycled or discard this turn, and cycling for 2. So if we cycled a bunch of dudes, this can be a free 4/4. Very similar sort of design to our commander, except our commander's better in every single way. Then there's Archfiend of Ifnir, 5 mana for a 5/4 flyer, good threat. When you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/- card on each creature your opponent's control. Cycling for 2. Ooh, cycling is amazing. So this is a great little board wipe. We've got other cyclers in hand, or the sort of discard outlet. This can just wipe your opponent's boards, and you've got a 5/4 flyer, and potentially you come out swing in, get your card back. Oh, so much advantage. Which brings me on to number 4, and these are other more interesting ways of putting cards into the graveyard. No, they're not. I lied completely. That's number 3. This is a really cool sort of way of using the removing of cards from a graveyard. Conrad the Desecrator is a 4-mana 4/2 zombie wizard. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. As partner, it doesn't matter at all here. But this is great because when we're delving away those cards or, returning them in other ways, we're going to be getting zombies for it. So nice bit of advantage to work with our commander. And, it's a creature, so if we end up milling over it, we can dig with our commander. Similarly, we've got Sir Conrad the Grim, who's a 5-mana 5/4. Whenever another creature dies, or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad deals 1 damage to each opponent. So, nice bit of advantage. And each player mills a card for 2 mana. So that fills our graveyard, potentially for putting our commander into play. So nice little pinger, not the best card in this deck because it only triggers once as you exile everything with your commander. But it's still a cool include that works well with a commander. Then we got Desecrated Tomb, 3 mana for an artifact. Whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. I don't know what I'm doing. Then this is another cycling card. I love the mechanic, but it's a 3-mana 3/1 zombie. And you can pay 2, discard a card, return it from your graveyard to your hand, activate this ability only during your upkeep. So this is a cool way of flipping cards, in and out of the graveyard. This is coming out of it, so it triggers all of these. And then we're putting something in that maybe we want to reanimate, get under our commander so we can bring it back. There's a lot of cool plays you can make with Undead Gladiator. Which brings me on to number 3. And you might know what this is. It's other ways of getting cards into the graveyard. Or specifically sort of cool cards that interact well. Dimir Houseguard is a 4-mana 2/3 with Skeleton. It's got Fear. Ooh. And sacrifice a creature, regenerate Dimir Houseguard. But the reason I put this in the deck is the transmutability. 3 mana, discard this card, search your library for a card with the same converted mana cost this card, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your library, or play only as a sorcery. Now, the sorcery bit does suck. I've always wanted to do this in Instant Speed because it's so like cycling. But the fact that you can get a Damnation, a Whip of Erebos, any number of fantastic 4-mana cards on this creature is amazing. And also our commander, to get that card back into our hand that's in exile with it, you can either attack or it dies. So having a sacrifice outlet, which this is on the field, is even good as well. Even good. It's even good. Then another couple of great cards here. Bone Shredder, 3 mana for a 1/1 with flying, and it's got Echo. So at the beginning of your upkeep, if it came under your control since the beginning of your last upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay its Echo cost, so 3 mana. And when it enters the battlefield, destroy it, target non-artifact, non-black creature. So I just play this out as a 3 mana 1/1, destroy something, and then let it die, because then we can, delve it away with our commander and bring it back and use it again to destroy something. You will run into situations where this can't destroy anything, but it's not the end of the world, you know what I mean? Then there's Auric Lawmage. 4 mana for a 3/3, tap, search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle. If it's an instant or sorcery card, puts a 1/1 card on Auric Lawmage. So this is an Entomb on a stick. And I've not selected Entomb because this is a creature itself. So this can be delved away with our commander to, get advantage, get this back to our hand, recast it, keep going. But this is cool because you can go and get instant sorceries. Maybe you've got a flashback spell. Maybe there's one I'm going to talk about in a bit. But this card is fantastic. Then we got the Vile Entomb, who is a zombie. Ooh, 4 mana for a 2/2 Death Toucher. Into the battlefield, search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle. So this, Entomb and things like that, Buried Alive, are better. But because it's a creature, I thought I'd highlight it because it works more with our commander. Then we've got Knight Incarnate, and this is the Evoke section. 5 mana for a 3/4 with Death Touch. When it leaves the battlefield, all creatures get -3/3 until end of turn. And you can evoke it for 4 mana, so it goes straight to the graveyard. This is a really cool reusable board wipe, and the awesome thing is, if our commander is on the field and we evoke it, our commander's a 4/4, it's going to give -3/3. Our commander will survive, all the little idiots are going to die, and then our commander can get to swinging and bring some cards back to our hand. And then we've got Shriekmaw. 5 mana, 3/2 with Evoke for 2. It's got Fear. Ooh. And when it enters the battlefield, destroy a target non-artifact, non-black creature. Really, really nice removal spell. 2 mana to remove something is great. Yes, there are restrictions, but late game, it's also got a creature stable to it, so it's fantastic. Then we got Grief. So giving me grief. 4 mana for a 3/2 Menace. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an online card from it. That player discards that card. So just rip your combo player's hand apart. Really destroy their game plan. Then evoke, exile a black card from your hand. So that's not too difficult because we are a black deck. And our commander's constantly going to be returning black cards and other sort of creatures back to our hand. So evoking it, get into the graveyard, exile it with the commander, bring it back. Which is all really good and well, but like I said before, our commander can get cards back in 2 different ways, from dying or from attacking. But the problem is it's going to sit there for a turn, and yes, maybe someone destroys it, but we don't really want that. We want to be attacking, and then they can destroy it, so we get 2 cards back. So, speaking of which, Hollow the Bandit Lord is a fantastic land because it gives haste. It comes into play tapped, and you tap and pay 3 life, add 1 mana to your mana pool. If that mana is spent to cast a creature spell, that creature has haste. So this is fantastic, but there's a downside. So if we're reducing our commander's cost to just double black because we're exiling 3 creatures, there's no generic mana that we can spend that colorless on. So we have to just exile 2 things from our graveyard and then pay 4 mana to give it haste. But we're going to get one of the cards straight back. And sometimes you do want to pay more mana with this commander because you want to be selective, you want to get only a specific card back, and that is a really powerful interaction. So this card works great with that. Then we've got Lightning Greaves, 2 mana for an equipment. Quick creature has haste and shroud. Shroud, amazing. Haste, ooh, amazing. And equip for 0. So, if you've only got 2 black, you play your commander, suit it up, get to swinging. And you're just generating some advantage. Then a one-off effect here, Mogus's Marauder. 3 mana 2/2 when it enters the battlefield. Up to X target creatures gain, each gain Intimidate and Haste until end of turn, where X is your devotion to black. So you need your commander on the field, but that means devotion to black is going to be at least 3 when this enters because it counts itself. So 3 of our creatures are going to get Haste and Intimidate. And Intimidate is a lovely bit of evasion, Really, really powerful. Then we've got Chariot of Victory. 3 mana for an equipment. A quick creature has first strike, trample, and haste. Equip for 1. So usually I wouldn't really recommend this, but because we've got Death Touch on our commander, the first strike is phenomenal because we just need to deal damage to our opponent. They're not going to deal any to our commander. The trample is fantastic because with Death Touch and first strike, we're just going to assign 1 damage to our opponent's creature and trample over the rest. And haste is obviously fantastic because it's what this entire section is about. So there we go. This is amazing. Which brings me on to my number 1 pick. And at number 1, well, this commander, because of the cost reduction and the fact you want to be attacking, having it die to generate value, we're going to be casting it a lot. And this section is all about casting our commander a bunch of times. And this card is just wonderful with casting a commander a load. It's Skullstorm. 9 mana, which, is a bit of a negative. Sorcery, when you cast a spell, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. Each opponent who can't loses half their life. Round it up. So that is ridiculous. We've used all our creatures to sort of keep our, battlefield under control. We've evoked some stuff, killed our opponent's creatures, board wiped maybe. We've cast our commander 4 or 5 times. We get 4 or 5 copies of this. Jesus Christ. Everyone's going to be losing ridiculous amounts of health. And if not, it's just a board wipe. We're going to sacrifice 5 creatures. We're going to be miles ahead. And then we can just swing in for the kill. This card is wonderful. And it's. I've been waiting for a use for this because a lot of commanders, you don't want them to die. You don't want to be recasting them. It's fantastic. But this card and it only works in the command zone. But these cards we're going to talk about are ways to maybe circumvent the command attacks because sometimes you don't want to cast it from the command zone. So Liliana Untouched by Death is a 4 mana 4 loyalty planeswalker. First one, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. If at least one of them is a zombie card, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So a couple of the cards I've talked about are zombies. And our commander is also a zombie. -2 target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of zombies you control. And the reason we want to play this, -3, you may cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. So if you have sort of a sack outlet that makes mana, something like that, we can play our commander from the command zone, generate a bit of value from it dying, you know, exile something, then cast it from our graveyard, exiling a bunch more, sack it again, get something back. We can just generate loads and loads of value. This is a cool include. Then we've got Netherborn Altar, 2 mana for an artifact. Tap, put a soul counter on it. Put your commander into your hand from the command zone. Then you lose 3 life for each soul counter on Netherborn Altar. So this is really for late game when, you know, we've exhausted all of our mana, we've not got any left, and we just want to cast our commander, get a bit of value out of it. This can bring it back. Then the Sanctum of Eternity, the land that taps for a colours, pay 2 and tap it. Return target commander you own from the battlefield to your hand. Activate this ability only during your turn. So it doesn't die because it's just going straight back to your hand. So you know, empty all the exiled cards that you want to get first. Then just return it, recast it, get a bunch more under it, give it haste, attack it, sack it, do whatever you want. It's your life. Live it. Then we've got Geode Golem. 5 mana for a 5/3 with Tremble. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from the command zone without paying its mana cost. However, you still pay any additional costs. So if it's the 3rd time we've cast our commander, we need to pay that additional 6 or however much it is. So we can still delve away a couple of cards for the additional cost, even though we're getting the rest of the 8 mana for free. Then, because our commander costs so much, Stinging Study, which is a sort of a nasty finger prodding someone as they're writing. Why have they not moved their hand? Who really knows? 5 mana for an instant, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. So 5 mana, draw 8. Instant speed? I'll take that every single day of the week. Then here's a flashback card that we could get with a Reek Law Mage or something like that. 3 mana for Visions of Dread. Oh. Sorcery, target opponent puts a creature card of their choice from their graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And then flashback for 10 mana. Good God. However, this spell costs X less to cast this way, where X is the greatest mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. So you cast it from your graveyard for just 2 black. That's really, really good. And because it's target opponent, you know, someone's just over there with a Ginger Taxis in the graveyard. You're like, I'll be having that, my friend. And then it's all yours, and then you know your opponents are miserable. But they've put that card into their deck, so don't feel too bad about it. And those are my top 5 cards for this turtle. Just plodding around, murdering everyone, cycling cards. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please do like, comment, subscribe, and cover yourself in wax. Beeswax, ideally. I'd enjoy that. Anyway, bye.